Don in London, hello. It's the 28th of February 2013, end of the month, and my videos are all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol. My behaviour could be equally addictive around anything, people, places and things, trying to be perfect, so when I'm perfect you'll like me or love me. Always striving to be the best I could. So alcoholic, workaholic, relationship-holic, substances or people, places and things, you name it. If I thought it would improve, yeah, there's the thinking coming in. Always my thinking undermines my feelings, because if I felt life, would I be able to cope with it? Fear was always there, I know that. So anyway, Don Alcoholic. I am Don, I'm an alcoholic in recovery, and it's been a while now. And I share about what happens, or happened to me, and how it's going today, and how I feel about it. So I've discovered that if I understand my feelings, and experience them as they're happening right now, if I know what my feelings are, I know how it's going to impact on my thinking, and my actions. So no matter how I feel, good, bad or ugly, my thinking says, what am I going to do now about these good, bad or ugly feelings? And what are the actions? Well, in the past my actions were very simple. Have a drink, get out of it, fix myself. But the fixing stopped working, and I ended up with a killer malady, an addiction to alcohol which I couldn't stop. So I needed help, and in the end, in the very bitter end of still trying to work it out for myself, I was dried out by professionals, and then the professional said, you need some support, mate, if you're going to carry on with this sobriety bit. And I had no intention of carrying on with sobriety, I just wanted to get dry so I could start again. But I didn't tell them that, did I? I said, yes, of course, I need support. And then a syndrome of doing the same old happened. Getting dried out, getting revived, and still not getting the message. Why don't you ask for help? And eventually I did, and it was a long time happening. But what I found was I did need support on a daily basis to reinforce what's good about life, what is bad about life, and what's ugly about life, and what I can do about it. Some things I can do things about, and some things I need help with. So help in sobriety came in the form of a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, where I go and be a part of, even by sitting there. And sometimes I speak, because I'm allowed to. I put my hand up and say, I'm Don, I'm an alcoholic. So if I get picked by the person who's there in the front of the meeting, I get to speak. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So why go to AA? Well, these are the reasons why. If you're an old-timer in recovery, you've got a few days or weeks or months or years under your belt of continuous sobriety, you know full well I don't speak for you, and I never can speak for you as a person in the fellowship of AA. No one speaks for anybody else, but we do sort out things together, so we can cooperate enough and learn from each other about the diversity of life. So what is AA, and why would I go to a meeting? Well, here is the AA preamble to meetings. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship, and it's not an organisation like you've met before. It's a fellowship of equals, men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. So that's what we do. We share about our common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The other part of that is we're all different. We're a diverse group of people with a whole load of things going on. But we're there for one reason, to be sober. The only requirement for membership is a desire to be sober, and even a desire to stop drinking. I hadn't got that when I first went, so it took me 5 years in between meeting 1 and meeting 2. And there is a phrase which says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. In one of the start of chapter 5 in a big literature book, the big book of AA. And the thing is, if you haven't got the desire to stop, that sentence is like a death sentence. So I would rather it read, rarely have we seen a person fail who understood it was a good idea to stop drinking and have a go. But it is true, it's an absolute truth, that if you follow the path, thoroughly follow the path of how to live life, truthfully and openly, as honestly and willing as you can, life will improve, and you may stop drinking. Because it's your decision at the end of the day. So I don't hold with the absolutes like that. Rarely have we seen a person fail. Well, that's true. Put people on an island without alcohol, they'll find some coconuts and make some. So I'm not being cynical, because I know fellowship works, but what I'm saying to you is it's not straightforward, but it is. We are not straightforward people. We don't desire to stop drinking to start with because we're addicted, and it's always solved our problems. It's covered up our feelings. So there are no dues or fees for AA, because if you had to pay for it you wouldn't go, probably. Or would you? You might think that you could be fixed if you paid for it. I want my money back. So there are no dues or fees. We are self-supporting through our own contribution. AA is not allied with any sect, but you might be. Denomination, but you might be. Politics, you probably have your politics. Organisation or institution, but you might be. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, but you might. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes, but you surely do. So the fellowship is there. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And we do that by sharing the truth of what has happened to us, our experience, strength and hope. And sometimes we tell porkies, and sometimes we exaggerate, sometimes we tell tall stories, sometimes we tell the abject truth and the misery and the horror. Or that, it was all cosy until I became an addict, and now the world feels uncomfortable, now I'm not drinking. And some people have a transition into sobriety, which is not difficult, because they just get it. And there are other people who have been around a long time in the drinking process who take a bit of time to come round to the idea that maybe sober is a good idea rather than a bad idea. And it's a free choice. It has to be a free choice. So nobody ought to be controlling you. They may be suggesting things, but if a person is telling you to do something, you're more likely to say no. You might say yes, but mean no. And somebody said that last night, actually. They said, my problem was I often said yes rather than no, and yet their behaviour in the meeting was all about yes rather than no, because the yes part was fixing. I don't know if they even realised it, but I think they did, because they're a smart cookie. Very bad behaviour. Anyway, I don't talk about other people, I don't name names, and there you go. It's the only way to be, actually. Anonymity is a place, it affords sanctuary to find out what your truth is, but it also exposes you to the absolute truth of other people as well. Anyway, it's the end of the month. Fellowship for me is all about you and me being different and still getting on, or not, as the case may be. So one of the things that is said, and it comes out in one of the steps which I cover later in the year, step 10, which is about tolerance and love in fellowship, and tolerance and love outside fellowship. So these 12 steps, these 12 principles of understanding how to live life with all your freedom, can do, can't do, with all your freedom intact, like you've never had before. Because don't forget, when we get to AA, probably a slave and codependent and absolutely dependent on the next drink to fix the horror that we feel. So what does tolerance and love mean to me? Sometimes I sum it up like this: I love you, and at the same time I hate your behaviour. So how can you say that? Well, the absolute truth is, often we do love people and hate the way they're behaving. And the same is true. People say to us, I love you, and they say, Don, I love you, but you're behaving like a monster. You didn't stop drinking, and now you've stopped drinking, you're still behaving the same way, like it's all going to be okay tomorrow. And that's how I was before I really understood what it was to tell the truth and change my behaviour. So inside fellowship or outside fellowship, we can love people and really detest their behaviour. And similarly, this is important to me, I don't want you to agree with me for the sake of a peaceful life, inside fellowship or outside it. I do not want you to agree with me for the sake of a peaceful life. I need you to thoroughly follow your own path in sobriety, or I am doomed as well. Because it's diversity which keeps me on track. It's the experience that you have which informs me about what I need to change in me. Or all I see is a mirror, and all I do is get back what I've given. So I need people in fellowship to thoroughly follow their own path, and that provides the diversity, the experience, the wisdom which keeps us on track. So I hope fellowship is a place of safety, anonymity, providing a sanctuary to find out how to live sober, open, willing and honest to seek out the truth, love and wisdom in the moment of now. If anything's happening, it's happening now. You can't change history, and you live in the moment. Tomorrow Never Comes is a title of a film, I believe. We always live in the present. This is important, and it was highlighted to me in a meeting recently. We can be attracted to bright, shiny stories of romance and finance, and where wealth leads to excess, and excess leads to addiction. At the same time, at the end of my drinking, I was poverty-stricken out on the streets, and I had to be cut off. And I cut myself off from family. Thought they cut me off, and they did, and they felt horrible about it. But equally, I couldn't stand myself being like that and showing up to family. So it was a two-way street, really. They loved me, hated my behaviour. I had no love for myself, and I just hated me. Full stop. At the end of my drinking. And sometimes this is what happens, shininess, brightness. And sometimes people mistake self-esteem, confidence, for ego, and self-esteem where growing confidence helps find the truth, and ego makes the truth unmanageable and a wallow in the mud and the murk of old glories. So, I used to be a shit-hot business consultant in my own head. Well, I was an averagely good one, actually. But I disagreed vehemently. I disagreed with how people did business in the city, and I thought I knew better, and I thought I had more of a say. But they put me right on that, and fucked me over real royally, and made my life hell. They had the power, I didn't, so I bank on it. That was a good start, and then I stopped drinking for a year because I thought that was the problem. And it probably was, because then all my feelings came out and I got very depressed. I suddenly realised I was in a good job, doing it well, but I felt absolutely suicidal. Because, even though it was a good job and I was doing it well, it was a job which wasn't appreciated at all by those in power, because it would take the power away from them. Now, so I got broken on my own principles, and I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I would always be in the wrong place at the wrong time in that sort of industry, because of integrity and fairness. That's not part of the regime. Until we find today that bankers are they're screaming now in the EU because they can only have bonuses 1 times their annual salary. And they're still, we've got one bank in the UK who's got £3 billion worth of losses this year, and it's still paying out bonuses, more than 1 times 1 year's salary. What does that tell you about the integrity of the industry which broke me? It tells me I was in the wrong place, and I'm lucky to be alive after that. But that was, on the way to 24/7 drinking. I didn't get there till this century, and that was in the latter part of the last century. So that's a bit of me. Anyway, this is a bit spiky this morning, and the reason why it's spiky is because I feel a bit spiky, and I want to assert that it's okay to be me. And in the process of doing that, I absolutely need to acknowledge your rights, and I need you to be you, and to be assertive about it, because otherwise, what's the point? So, fellowship is a place of safety where you can be assertive and sound off, but you won't win any friends, and sometimes we don't want to win friends, and we don't want to be influenced by people who have completely different views on how to be sober. So this is why it comes out a bit spiky today, but I respect the views of other people. I just can't get on with them. And why should I? I still love them, but I hate what they're about. So fellowship is a place of safety, anonymity providing sanctuary to find out how to live sober, be open, willing and honest to seek out the truth, love and wisdom in the moment of now, where it all happens. We can be attracted to bright shiny stories of romance and finance, where wealth leads to excess, and excess leads to addiction, and multiple addictions. And sometimes people mistake self-esteem for ego, and vice versa. But people mistake ego for confidence. So when you hear an ego story, which is about the truth of what happened, and it all got unmanageable, and they wallow in the mud and murk of old glories, like, you know, I used to have 100 racehorses, and now I've only got one. Or I've been married 18 times, moved house 23 times, and have several lovers along the way, and everything's going to shit again. Well, it's obvious why, because you've tried it over and over again and it's not worked. So try something new is a good idea. But it makes for a good story. You know, hell and damnation. So sometimes people do geographical moves to find peace, fall in and out of relationships, hoping to be saved. And sometimes we see the weakness in another, and this is what I hate really. They see the weakness in another person who is intelligent, bright and comedic, and they prey on them. It's all part of learning life in the moment of now. So, you know, there are old duffers about, men and women, who can be a bit obsequious is the word, ever so humble, but at the same time they can drain newcomers of their vitality in so many ways. I often say the same things over and over again, not to expect a different result in my own life, but just to share how it works in fellowship. And sometimes I hear, and sometimes I sense the animosity from other people, and I'm really okay when others exude their disapproval. You know, one of the things is, I'm not here to agree with you or disagree with you. I'm here to find out how it works when it comes to sobriety. But when I sense that animosity in a room, it's based on gossip, and I don't give a fuck about gossip anymore. I've had enough. You know, I just don't care about the gossip, but I'm really sorry for the people who have to do it and herd together to help save their opinion about life. That was not what fellowship was about. You know, one group against another group within a group. It doesn't work that way. It means that the group conscience has gone AWOL. Well, it's AWOL. It's absent without leave. So, you know, I'm aware of it. I sense the animosity from other people, and I'm really okay when others exude their disapproval. It just makes me a bit more spiky. How often do I hear the same old said by other people? So I'm entitled to have the same old saying by me. The pursuit of happiness, contingent. This is what gets my goat sometimes. You know, what would you do if you didn't have any legs and you're an alcoholic? Or you're an alcoholic in a wheelchair? Or you're an alcoholic who's a paraplegic? You have the advantage of, you know, being lying down already. I don't see it that way, and I'm sure you don't. Sometimes I hear and sometimes I sense that animosity from other people, and I'm really okay when others exude their disapproval. However, how often do I hear the same old said by other people? The pursuit of happiness contingent on getting down on your knees and praying for something you cannot have. Like serenity, you can't have it if you're praying for it, because serenity is a state of being. It's always in the now. It's not down the road. It's not like that in the real world. The real world which God created, if God created it, the real world where God offers some expectation beyond their ability to achieve. Well, God never set you an expectation. You're setting the expectation based on prayer that you're going to get something. It's called, if you do it properly, it's called serenity, because you're able to then understand your state of mind and the possibilities. That is serenity. It doesn't mean life is perfect, because it can't be. It's full of good, bad and ugly. We're going to encounter it all day long, because out there, naturally, it's very combative. So, if you're out there and you think by getting on your knees and praying and expecting something to happen, that's insanity. My expectation of prayer and meditation is a state of mind which gives me acceptance of the can do and can't do every day. It's acceptance of reality, and not some fantasy down the road where there's going to be a golden light over my head and a halo. That isn't going to happen to me. I know that. And if God is out there, see, God to me is the universe, and I'm not trying to undermine or convert you to my point of view. I'm just pointing out serenity is a state of mind. It's not something you get down the road for being good, bad or ugly. You know, a lot of bad people have serenity because they don't care. They're sociopaths. They have no feelings, and they like it that way. Well, I wonder if they like it. Sociopaths are single-minded around their own needs. So, and they're in fellowship too. And God is their best friend, because it's a good way of controlling people. So those who really truly believe in God are not about control. They're about observing and understanding a relationship with a higher power. And that's what I've discovered. It works in fellowship too, because the higher power is always around me. So, and I will be okay when I get to that place of golden serenity. It's not like that in the real world. The real world which God created, the real world where God offers an expectation beyond their ability to achieve, no. And if you're asking God for your entitlements, or in a softer, easier way to serenity, which it can only be had in the moment of now, even if your life is shit, serenity is acceptance of what it is. And then the can do, can't do. And if you can't do it, ask. So, and if you're asking God for your entitlements, or a softer way, not only do you let God down, because you're not doing your bit, you let down yourself and live in fear and failure. Or you sit on a pile of resentments and entitlements which you don't have. God-given is truth, love and wisdom in the moment of now. And sometimes we need to ask for help to understand the truth, love and wisdom of now. So tolerance and love. Together we find the truth, love and wisdom of now. And this can-do, cannot-do business is about acceptance of life on life's terms. I'm an alcoholic, I need help. And I do, from time to time. And my best mate was on the phone last night, and she helps me every single blinking time we talk. I'm very lucky in that respect. Anyway, I do believe the Serenity Prayer is one of the best meditations. But the problem, it's serenity and how we understand it. So and that is always, and it seems to leave people wanting and not experiencing serenity. Serenity is not hanging on to the last breath in company of people, places and things which are bad for us. So, serenity is an expectation that it would get better if we're in the wrong company. The answer is no, it won't. And if you're married to the wrong man or woman, or if you're in a partnership in work, or you have a work situation where you've got bad people, and you're expecting through prayer and meditation for it to work, the best prayer is the can do, can't do. I can change my outlook and where I'm going, but I can't change them because they're stuck. Having talked to them about it, I've come to understand that they're immovable objects. So if they aren't able to move, and they're going to be like that. And this is why I got into a right old state. I stayed too long because I knew I was right. And I was wrong to stay, even though I was right. Because they were bigger, more bad and more powerful than me. And actually I'm lucky to be alive because of it. Because I really did upset people for a lot of money. Not for me, but when you blow the whistle and they don't get their bit, they do get very angry. Yeah. Serenity is not hanging on to the last breath in the company of people, places and things which are bad for us. Nor is it hanging on to something we cannot control. We can't control people, places and things unless we have the power to do so through whatever means are at our disposal. But, you know, if people have free will just like us, why on earth would they ever follow us if it's contrary to their beliefs, opinions and what they want to do? So the only thing we can move is us, in terms of our attitude, behaviour and what we're going to do. Move on. Yeah, it is truly understanding what we can and cannot do. And if there are things we cannot do, ask for help. You know, why not ask for help? That's what the whole thing is, humility to keep on learning. And having asked for help, if we still cannot achieve those entitlements and expectations that you have in your head about life, is it not time to let them go? And when we say let go and let God, God being truth, love and wisdom, which resides in the greater number of people than me, I need to listen. When they say listen, you're banging your head against a brick wall. Why not move on and breathe a bit of fresh air and leave that brick wall alone? It sounds like a Pink Floyd wall thing. And it is like that because we do bang ourselves against the wall and we think we can change it, and we can't. Intellect and thinking says, I have right on my side. I know I'm right. So why do I feel so low? And why am I working myself into the ground to a point where I'm breaking? Well, good reasons. Fellowship is a mixture of many different beliefs in many different people. Many different opinions in many different people. Many different affiliations in many different people. And many different alliances in many different people. This is fellowship. And thank God it is. Fellowship is not about a herd mentality, where you have to believe certain things in order to be sober, because the 12 steps don't require you to believe anything. They require you to build your self-esteem through truth, love and wisdom. Well, no. You need truth, love and wisdom so you feel more confident about life and you don't have to go back to the old one. And it means that it's very destructive, the truth of now. And it can be very unacceptable when you don't like the truth of now, and you don't like your situation, and you might be married to the wrong person or in the wrong relationship, you might be in the wrong work, you might be this, that or the other, but truth, love and wisdom will set you free. And how the bondage is yours to your old ways of living, but you don't need to join a herd of other people who are relying on camaraderie and not doing anything about it. So if you get set in with a group of people who say, oh well, I haven't done all the steps yet, you must wonder why. Because the steps set you free. And then when you look at the group of people, they're half happy and half sad, but they don't know which half is which. They're just sitting there grumbling and ruminating and gossiping, and they think they love each other, but they're still clinging to something which they haven't got. And you know, we want to be fixed quickly. That's the problem. There is no quick fix, but there is serenity in the moment if you understand where you are and how hard it's going to be. So many different people. Fellowship is not about a herd mentality, but you will see it, where you have to believe certain things in order to be sober. If that were the case, we would have a herd of sober people in sobriety, Well, I don't see that, but I do see people sticking together in a very unhealthy way because they like each other, or they desire each other, or they're lusting after something. And it's usually, what is it? They're looking for love, but they're looking in the wrong place. You know, in order to understand love, you have to understand who you are, that you have a right to be on the planet, that you have a right and freedom of choice to be yourself, however that turns out. And we've all made big mistakes, so go with the flow of your life. So, you know, I don't believe we have a herd of sober people, but there are herds within, groups within, who are not so good for each other. And that's just an observation. I don't get involved. I don't. And that's why I feel the animosity sometimes, because I won't follow some of these drastic ideas which upset people. You know, that somebody's going to save you. Yes, you are, with the help of other people. But there is no golden glow down the road. Either you get the golden glow right now, because it's the circumstances and it's right, but you can still have a glow of serenity around a whole bunch of ugly stuff, because you're accepting it and you're feeling it, and it's horrible. But there is serenity in the can-do, can't-do. So, if anything, what makes our fellowship strong is the diversity and the difference, and one simple common purpose, which is to be sober, and is said in that AA preamble, which I've lost. I put it on the floor. Now, please forgive my language, but this is the way it comes. And because there are so many different ways of being sober and living sober, with 12-step principles, and freedom to choose your life and your path, whatever you do, do not follow my path, because it's mine, and you can fuck off to your own path if you don't mind. And I mean that in a nice, kindly fuck off sort of way, because I want you on your path every single day. I don't want you to be like me. I need you in fellowship or outside fellowship. I need you to be you above all. And if you disagree with me, I'm so pleased, and I am respectful. But don't expect me to follow your path either. So, you know, I am respectful of your views. In the old days, in my youngster days within fellowship, I thought I needed to belong to different presences who seem to have some sort of influence in the rooms. And I realised they haven't got much influence at all. They're just gossips. Or they're asking you to do something for free for them. That's because I was a yes man by the time I got, and it took me a long time to really assert I can be me, but I can only be me if you're you and you're following your path. And if our paths go along together for a while, all well and good. It might be for a lifetime, but we're still going to love each other and hate some behaviour, and we're going to be fractious and diverse. And that's that's the beauty of learning our feelings in the moment of now. So I felt fractious last night in a meeting. Recovering alcoholics are not sheep, but there are people in fellowship who would like you to be a sheep. True. And they normally have 25 sponsees and a reputation of 30 years sober, and a rigorous routine of control and command, or command and control. You know, the Romans put it down to 10 people, one leader. So, you know, and that's to actually do something which is quite difficult. Be in an army or be in a facility. Ratio of 10 to 1. So when you've got 25 sponsees out there, you know, praying to God that everything's going to be all right, what are you doing? You cannot be there for 25 people one day at a time, because the fellowship is one day at a time. So, you know, oh well, I'll put you off till tomorrow. Meanwhile, the poor sod's relapsed or going through the shit because they're not asking other people, maybe, or they are. So why do we need this coveted sponsor who's got 30 years? If I were 30 years sober, you can all fuck off, because I'll be old and useless to you. And I don't need that accolade. What I say is there are no gurus in life, just us. We're all the same, and we need to be respectful of each other. Which means I can tell you to fuck off and get off my path, and you can say the same back. This is about being yourself. Somehow they do have outstanding characteristics around following the bright and shiny, but the bright and shiny are often shallow and just thoroughly following somebody else. When I listen to people who are awaiting serenity and expecting serenity to have a deep glow, probably golden, if you want a golden glow, go do some meditation in a Buddhist temple, because you will get a glow. There is spiritual connections which I really don't understand how they work, but the golden glow is available right now. But not if you're in the shit, because you have to deal with the shit. But there is serenity in knowing what you can and cannot do. So serenity is not a golden glow. If you want a golden glow and a bit more enlightenment around that, it does require effort. It just doesn't happen by waiting or praying. It's a reflection of the deep, finding love for oneself and equality and love for everyone else. So if you're holding on to entitlements, resentments and expectations, that golden glow is only available with an injection or a drink, and then it's false because it's fixed and the way back into desperation. If you're waiting for it, it isn't going to happen. Serenity and acceptance are active in the moment of now. So serenity is acceptance and stillness in chaos, often. To give yourself a breath. And you have to work at it. Serenity and acceptance are active in the moment of now. And if you are inactive, awaiting the arrival, you might as well wait for hell to freeze over, because that's where you are. You are in hell, awaiting the arrival of serenity. Serenity is a state of mind in the moment of now. If you don't have it, some work needs to be applied. And preferably not getting on your knees to pray about it, or falling flat on the floor anticipating that God has spotted your deference. The reason why people used to get on their knees to pray or fall flat was to stop them killing each other in difficult times. People got on their knees because you couldn't fight in that position. That was what it was all about. Control. And the notion that you might feel better on the floor is to do with fear of not being heard and not being seen, to defer to someone else's idea of prayer and meditation. And what really got my goat a few months back was somebody talking about their sponsee who was in a wheelchair getting down on their knees. Now, what sort of a sponsor says that about their sponsee? And what sort of a sponsee is so deferent and fearful about living? I have problems getting down on my knees because I'm old, and also I have nerve damage, and getting up off the floor is quite difficult. So all this stuff around deference, God didn't do that. Humans did. Humans in fear and being controlled. So the way to feel good in your own mind, which is mind, body and breath in the moment of now, yoga, Buddhism, all the spiritual Eastern philosophies, improve our understanding in the moment of now. It's only in the moment of now. That's serenity. It's not down the road. When I've done this, I'll be okay. Bollocks. Somebody said that the other day. Anyway, I know it wasn't me. And the notion that you might feel better on the floor is to do with fear of not being heard and not being seen, to defer to someone else's idea of prayer and meditation. I lie in bed and I can talk, I can have a chat with God. It's the conscience, it's the inner voice, it's can do, can't do. And where is serenity? I can feel animosity, and serenity is in me. I accept it. I accept. And I want you to be different to me. Otherwise I'll never learn anything, will I? That's the whole point. What I'm saying is be yourself. And that can be very hard because we don't know who we are until we've done a bit more. prayer and meditation is happening now inside you, whether you like it or not. It's just whether you do it in a formal way, or however you describe it or not, in the moment of now and all day long. So the inner voice is going, the prayer and meditation is happening, and it can be happening in angry prayer, ugly prayer, good prayer, expectations prayer. You know, what are expectations? They're resentments under construction. Because whatever your expectation is and whatever your entitlement is, it's not. We have to work at it, whatever it is. It requires work. And the animosity last night started, oh dear. I quoted M. Scott Peck and his famous book, The Road Less Travelled, and he said, life is difficult. And if you accept that life is difficult, then it ceases to be an issue. You just have to work and understand emotions are real and drive our thinking, which drives our actions. Even if you don't agree that you've got feelings, they're going on subconsciously. I don't want you to agree with me. I need you to examine what is working and what is not working in your life. If you are putting off doing something, hoping that someone else will do it for you, you might be wasting a bit of time. If you are in a bad situation and not putting any action into it, it is unlikely to change and will continue to be a bad situation. Defiance and being stubborn, outstanding characteristics of alcoholics who are active or who are in recovery. We are stubborn and defiant, and we'll go on to the bitter end. First, we're impatient on the one hand to be somewhere, and then absolutely devastated that we are in the wrong place with the wrong person or people, and then we persist in staying there, not just for today, more likely a month or two, and even a year or two, because we simply do not accept serenity in the moment of now. It is about what we can and cannot do. And most often we mistake desire and lust for love, because we're humans, we're programmed for desire and lust. We were first and always foremost programmed with love, and when we have lost it, or we desire it, or we are absolutely bereft of it, love can drive us nuts, and I put here, me included, until of course you really are on a spiritual path, one step at a time, and not on your knees today, because somewhere else it says we do not grovel, and that's to other humans. But you know, the whole, I said to a guy who's new, I said, you're part of my higher power today. You've told me X, Y and Z, and you've shared X, Y and Z, and I understand exactly what you're talking about. And more than that, I related something which made him laugh, and it made me laugh about what he had said. So, completely different personalities. And this person was extremely suspicious a few months ago of my motives. And he was quite right to be suspicious of my motives, because he didn't know me, and fear abounded. Now that fear's dissipated over months, and he started to realise that some people are not on their case, or his case, or another case, whatever. Some people just genuinely want to help, by not making them like them. So fellowship it rocks, even though we will argue with each other. Sometimes we will love each other and hate our behaviour, and then sometimes we just don't like and detest other people, because there are reasons for it. But love is best. Anyway, serenity, can do, can't do, wisdom to know the difference. It is always in the now. Don't wait for serenity. Work out the can do, can't do. Accept it. And acceptance leads back into sanity as much as serenity. Sanity to find out what you really feel about the situation, and if you feel that way, where is your thinking going and where are the actions going? Enough. That serenity prayer, whether you believe in God or not. I believe this. God is truth, God is love, God is wisdom, and it's the truth around me and not in me which informs me, which is you, and the love. Some people can love me and some people can hate me, or some people love me but hate my behaviour, And I love people and hate their behaviour. And I know where they're coming from, and I understand it far better than they do. But that doesn't help them. It's the Serenity Prayer which helps us all to access the truth of now. God, grant me the serenity to have the acceptance about what I cannot change, accept what I cannot change, courage to change what I can, which seems to be me and my attitudes, with the help of others. Change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference in the moment and happening today, hopefully. So be yourself, please be yourself. And if you don't know who you are, have a go with the 12 steps which open up you to the truth of you. And once you understand it, it's okay to be you, even if you've been a bit broken by life, or found yourself being revived in a hospital, and a Roman Catholic priest turns up and says, "I'm here for you." I said, "Why are you here for me?" He said, "Well, last rites." I said, "Fuck off, I'm not a Catholic." And he said, "Don't be so fussy." Anyway, we became friends after that, because I didn't die, even though he was there for the last rites. And they put me down as a Catholic when I wasn't. I was a Church of England nomad, or just mad. Just for today, wisdom to know the difference. Can do, can't do. And if I can't do something, ask for help. Ignorance is not bliss. And also, if people say to you, "Why don't you know that? Surely at your age you should." And the answer is, well, if it's not been in my life experience and I don't understand it, I shouldn't know it, should I? So don't put me down for not knowing. Don't do that. And the same applies when people do it to you. You don't have to accept it, but you don't have to beat them up for it. Bad people, bad situations, move on. Good people, good situations, stick around for a bit, see what happens. That's what I did with fellowship, and it did work. Well, it only works one day. And that's the same with fellowship. The whole fellowship is one day long. It's the people you meet today who are, and you are, if you're in it, the fellowship. Good enough for me.